All right. Hello, my friends, and welcome back to another episode of the Health Detective Podcast by Functional Diagnostic Nutrition. My name is Evan Transu, aka Detective Ev, and I will be your host for today's show, episode number 428 of the Health Detective Podcast. And if you're thinking we're doing things a little makeshift today, you would have thought correctly. I skipped the countdown. My background is a little off. My freaking mic has fallen. It's not going well here at the FDN podcast headquarters. The good news is we are about to move, so that's why some of this stuff is not going to be really fixed. I also am on vacation starting tomorrow for the next several days. When we move, we have some amazing things coming up for you guys. I've kind of teased this out on another podcast, but it is confirmed. We will be doing at least one podcast a month in person, like professional podcast studio down in Austin, Texas, with the lights, with the chairs, all that cool stuff, usually with a big name guest. So you guys can stay tuned for that. That's going to be very fun. In addition, we're going to have probably the best FDN podcast setup we've ever had once I'm in my new home base of Austin, Texas in September, late August, September, and we can't wait to show you guys that. We have a fan favorite here on the podcast. At this point, Dr. Lori, you probably have the record for the most guest appearances. It used to be held by Ryan Monahan. I don't know how the heck he would still hold that. I know we've done Instagram lives together a million times, so that's probably confusing. But in terms of podcasts, like let's just think about how many times you've been on Restream that wasn't some event like Holistic Health Week. It's got to be 7 or 8 at least at this point.
Oh, absolutely. And if I'm in company with Ryan, then that's good company to be in. So that's good to hear.
Absolutely. So, of course, we used a catchy title for you today, which I thought was very cute, and it's very true. But we are here, ironically, to talk about your advanced immune course. And I say ironically because hopefully people can't hear it too significantly, but I am a little stuffy today. I came down with something the other day. I'm thankfully doing a little bit better than I normally would because this is a crazy concept. It's pretty deep in the scientific literature, and I discovered it recently. Apparently, when you actually rest the first few days of you being sick, you tend to recover faster, Dr. Lori. This is news to me. You know, I thought this was the craziest thing in the world. I thought you just get sick, you just keep pushing through and doing your normal stuff, and that's why you get sick for 2 weeks. But apparently you don't do that. So outside of Health Coach Ev's or Detective Ev's sicknesses here, I use my former alter ego. That just shows how sick I am. I haven't used that one in 5 years. Outside of Detective Ev's sicknesses here, what has inspired us to create this advanced immune course? Because you are buffing these advanced courses out for FDN. People love them. But I also know someone with your expertise has the ability to create a lot of different advanced courses. So why this one right now?
Yeah, it was definitely a sort of request kind of on-demand topic, especially with the cultural events of the last several years. More and more people are getting long-term chronic immune system responses to viral infections. Autoimmune diseases are rampant. And so it was just a really culturally sort of timely, necessary course. But it's also like what you said was such a perfect segue into discussing the course because the immune system, I would say it's one of the most mistreated systems of the body because of how we function culturally, right? We are productive. And if our immune system is doing its job, which has these sort of consequences of making us not feel awesome, we suppress with drugs or with supplements, and then we just push through and keep going and keep going and keep going. And so one of my favorite parts of this immune system course is that I don't just start with like, what supplements can we take and what herbs can we take? We really go into prevention and maintenance, and sleep is one of the most important things, right? Both preventatively and during an illness, but it's the one that gets most ignored. Like everyone wants to take the pill or everyone wants to take the supplement and or take the herb, which they have their places, right? Like that's all part of the course as well. But the prevention and the like how to work with your immune system part of this immune course is one of my favorite parts of it.
Awesome. And you know what? I normally wouldn't put it up this early, but just because we did start a little late, and that's on me, guys. We had a separate event that started late, so that's why we were late today. Thanks for still being here with us. You guys might know this. Anytime we have Dr. Lori on and she's talking about a new advanced course, we're always going to give you guys a special discount on that. They're exclusive to that time when it came out. So Tracy, if you get a second, if we could drop the code there, and we'll just leave that up for them so that they can see this. So I'm checking this out. The Advanced Immune System Health course, it is Immune25 is the code. And this is good. Oh, 716 to 718. You guys gave them a short window this time. So make sure you get that. I don't know if we have a QR code yet for the link, but we will get that set up. Oh, wow. Tracy's a step ahead of me. Thank you, Tracy. So if you guys scan the QR code, that's where you can get the direct link. And Tracy, if you get a moment, if you could put that in the chat, please, as well, just so they, like, not on the screen, but just in the chat so that they can see the direct link to type in. That would be great. Dr. Lori, I want to go back to something that you said. I know that we've talked about this on other podcasts. To me, though, this is such a fascinating thing because I like when someone takes an objective view of this and not just a purely conspiracy theory view. Now, guys, I'm a good conspiracy theorist. I'm way nuttier than I would ever let on something I work for. But with that said, there are real things happening that do not seem to be conspiracy oriented. It's just a problem that we're now dealing with. So what I'm getting at, and I've talked about this with you before, like I said, whether it's the vaccine, whether it is the mass amount of COVID infections that were out there, and sorry, I'm saying that poorly. I mean, the mass amount of people that got infected with COVID, there does seem to be something over the last 5 years that has triggered people getting sicker, that has triggered people getting viruses more often. I am actually not sure if it's my mold exposure or not, but I am getting sick way more often. I was just sick for 2 weeks in April. I'm Detective Ev, and now I'm sick again with this other crap that I have. So let's try to take the most science-backed, objective approach that we can. And I don't want you to have to get your own beliefs into it. I just want to say, are you of the understanding that, yes, this last 5 years, for whatever reason or variety of reasons, because it's probably a mix of a few things, are you on the understanding that people are actually getting sick more often, more frequently, and more severely? Does that seem to be true?
There's definitely a response that was sort of unpredicted, that people are staying sick longer and getting more recurrent infections.
Mhm.
Now, whether it is because of it's many things, like you said. Like, I think it's multifactorial. We do have this culture of pretty much not doing any of the things that support our immune system, and that's why I start the course with this really in-depth discussion of, like, what are all the lifestyle things we should be doing to prevent these frequent infections, these long infections. And as a culture, we do almost none of them. So that's important. And then I break the immune system down into the innate immune system and adaptive immune system. They each get their 2 sections. But then the last section, so the course is 4 different sections. The last section really investigates long COVID specifically. But I also talk a lot about other long immune infections, which used to be rare, right? Like, people had long-term Lyme infection, people had long-term what's the mono infection, right? Which those, you hear about them, especially if you're a health practitioner, right? Like, you get those clients, but it wasn't like half of the population. And now there are just a lot of people with long COVID. And part of creating this course, I took multiple courses and read multiple books before I created this course. So this course is like a summary of hundreds of hours of research and learning. And part of that was this 10-hour long COVID course I took. And it was really cool because you mentioned like having this objective perspective. And one of my teachers in this course was this holistic clinical herbalist, but she's also an MD in the thick of it, right? Like, at the hospitals constantly during the whole COVID epidemic. And so she had this really objective perspective because she has clients on one hand who are coming for just the conventional medicine perspective and approach. And then she has clients in her other life who are coming for the holistic herbal approach. So she sees all these different thoughts and reads all this different research. And what the facts show is that, vaccinated or not, people are getting long COVID. So there was no correlation of like, oh, only the vaccinated are getting long COVID, or oh, only the non-vaccinated are getting long COVID. It's everyone, and it's unpredictable whether you're going to get long COVID or not. Something else that I learned in that course, and it's really unique the way COVID impacted the body, the COVID virus. So it didn't just get you sick and leave. So it's not just like, oh, you support the immune system to support long COVID. The cells in your body that COVID infects, those tissue cells actually die. So that's one of the unique things about COVID is COVID actually kills mitochondrial cells, actually kills cardiovascular cells, actually kills nervous system cells. So if we don't know that as either people getting sick or as practitioners helping people sick, and we don't know that, oh, we can't just like support the immune system the way we would. We also have to rebuild neurons and rebuild mitochondria and rebuild cardiovascular tissue. Well, then those systems are still going to stay weak, which makes you more susceptible to recurrent infections and more frequent infections. So there's also kind of this knowledge gap of how this virus and maybe other viruses, right, work and impact the body, which changes how we should approach helping people with those health issues. And so that's something I wanted to bridge with this course is that knowledge gap and teach, oh, if you have clients with long COVID, it's a totally different approach. Yes, you support immune system, but you've got to figure out what got attacked in their body and what other systems are needing to be rebuilt and restored.
Forgive me if I just don't remember that before, but I don't know that you've mentioned that part to me yet. And that's really interesting. I think that validates, I'm not saying this is perfect. I don't know, but I would say that would be validating of some of the experiences that people talk about where one of the things that has been claimed, see, I don't know if this is actually statistically significant in terms of it happening more often, but one of the things that people have claimed is you're seeing like 20 something year old men having more heart issues than before. But if we're finding out that this is actually killing cardiovascular tissue, and please correct me if I'm wrong here in this train of thought, assuming that we're correct or people are correct in thinking that young people are having more heart issues than before after this COVID thing. If you had cardiovascular tissues killed off and then you go and push as hard as you have been pushing your whole life because you're a top level athlete, would it be fair to say, under the premise that that first part was true, would it be fair to say that that could increase your risk for a cardiovascular event then, even if you're a young person?
Right. Yeah,
Wow.
absolutely. Like if we're not restoring and rebuilding these organ systems and tissues and their functioning, not only are you susceptible to recurrent, just normal viral and bacterial infections that are going to show up, it's, those show up. But you're also susceptible to all those other symptoms that are now categorized as long COVID, right? Like the heart issues, the breathing issues, the mental fog, memory, all that stuff, because those systems are never being rebuilt and restored.
So will the course, I'm sure you can't teach every little thing out there, but will the course help people in terms of understanding how to start this rebuild?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, so in every section of the course, I not only teach the anatomy and physiology so that you really understand what's going on here, but then I also talk about nutrition, herbal and supplemental and lifestyle ways to support those systems, rebuild those systems, either work with and support the immune system if you're in a current infection, or sort of how to handle long-term inflammation, how to handle long-term infection, those sorts of things. So it's a very practical course. It's not just a like, hey, here's what's happening. It's also here's tons of things you can do about it.
I never ever like getting on here and promote. I think you have a responsibility as a host to promote certain things in a certain way and be careful about what you're saying. But I never want to do something to promote fear. I do not have a problem necessarily with promoting valid urgency with
Mm,
stuff. Would you say it is fair to say that given what's happened over the last several years and how rapidly people do seem to be becoming like sicker than ever before, do you think it is of utmost importance then to really be doubling down on this stuff? Like, I know that a lot of us were already into this, but it seems like you really need to be taking this seriously right now. Otherwise, it could be a real interesting next 10 to 15 years. Is that too far out, or is there data to actually back up that we do need to be taking this more seriously than ever before? I mean, our health, our immune health, all that stuff.
I mean, I don't know if there's data to support, like scientific research, like, is it more
Sure.
important now than it was before? I just think culturally we have changed in a way that works against every part of the way our body is supposed to work, right? And I know that you're into like circadian rhythm stuff. And so I know this is something you research and you're into. And so whether there's data versus evidence, like evidence, walk around and see, right? Like all you have to do is listen to anecdotal stories, see what people are experiencing, see what's happening to the world culturally, and like health. I would say we're in a health crisis, and like you said, I don't really want to focus on fear, but like in the course, I really spend a lot of time in the prevention part of the course because I think we've moved so far away from those lifestyle strategies that prevent these immune crises in the first place. Again, because we want the pill, we want the herb, we want the supplement, and that's all we want to do. It's easy. We want to not sleep and be as productive as possible. We want to not go outside or only exercise 1 hour a day, and that's all we move. Like there's just so many ways we've changed compared to what the human body needs and evolved with, that I would say yes, now more than ever historically we need to go back to those roots and back to those lifestyle habits that support the body.
It's a great way of saying it. That's why I love talking to you, right? I kind of have my ideas. Then Dr. Lori's like, let me polish this up really quick for you, kid. But I actually think it's something that I would still keep in my back pocket to this day. If I ever felt or knew based on lab testing that like, Ev, what you're doing is not working, like it's getting really bad. I know this sounds extreme to people. I'm just telling you as someone who did this for 60 days and as an experiment at one point, I'd go back and do my camping experiment. I camped 53 out of 60 days at one point. The 7 days were just because there was thunderstorms and lightning, and that, what an ironic way that would be to die. If you're out there trying to restore your circadian rhythm and a lightning strike hits you in the tent. I'm like, that I can't let my family have that about me on the news. That is just, that's too embarrassing. But I did that for 2 months in the summer and I felt superhuman. I think I've actually even shared with you the photos of like how my skin looked, and just it was just tan and it was the clearest it's ever been. I felt like I needed less sleep. I was recovering way faster in the gym. I only did it for 2 months. And you think about this, you're like, well, our ancestors did this their whole life and
Right.
probably better than me because I was camping still in a tent. So I'm not even grounded at night, right? They're camping in a way where they're constantly grounded. I'm like, wow, like how much stronger could we be with that? And again, I know not everyone's going to do that. I'm not trying to promote extreme messages either, but I would still go back to that. If I felt like all else was failing and I need to figure out something with my health, I'd be like, okay, how do I spend as much time outside as possible? Wake up and sleep with the sun and moon respectively, and get our stuff back here. So in terms of other things about the course, if you guys have any questions, by the way, I see quite a few of you on, which is awesome. If you have questions, feel free to throw them in if they're relevant to the course. But I wanted to ask, because this is something that always comes up when we talk about your courses. People always like, well, are there protocols? Like, will we have things that we can use for certain things? And as FDNs, we're not one size fits all. I get that. But do you provide kind of supplement or protocol guidance for specific things?
I mean, it's definitely not like for this. There's not like typed out, oh, here's a Lyme protocol or here's a
Sure.
yeast infection protocol. Like it's not how it works. It's more of like how to think through what's going on with each person. Because every person's gonna have totally different gaps in what they're doing, right? We kind of talked about in the last podcast that like I drink zillions of gallons of water. It's not that much. I drink a lot of water a day. It would never occur to me to like have to set a goal around that versus other people. That's their main health goal is like, I can't drink enough water and I need to, so making those standardized protocols, it doesn't make sense practically
Mhm.
because every client's different. They're going to have different gaps in what they need help with. But I definitely do talk about if this is going on physiologically, here's herbs that can help, nutrients that can help, lifestyle strategies that can help, baseline things you need to start with in a protocol with someone versus add-ons once those baseline things are done. So I provide the clinical thought process and definitely solutions depending upon what's going on with each client.
I think that's okay. That's great. I think that's even more important as FDNs, right? It's kind of like the thing: give a man a fish, feed him for a day, teach him how to fish, you feed him forever. But it's even worse in this case because you can't just give out random fish in terms of health, right? They could be
Right.
allergic to trout. They might not do well with that. They might not be able to digest it. So it's much better to learn how to think and come up with these protocols ourselves and what works for our clients rather than have these generic things. I hope people always understand that because that's a huge thing. This comes up with us or for us with other webinars and stuff that we do, by the way. People will always ask, do you have protocols for this? Do you have specific things for this? And it's like, well, kinda, but what we're doing is we're teaching you how to think about this situation and come up with something on your own. I'd much rather have that because anyone with any common sense, I think at least, knows that if I use the exact same protocol on everyone, it's eventually not going to work. Western medicine knows that. You could have two people with anxiety, and I'm not promoting these medications or not promoting them, right? But if someone's dealing with panic attacks every day, for one, Xanax might make them angry. And for another person, Klonopin might chill them out and they can get through their day at least while they figure out why they're actually dealing with these panic attacks, right? So it's the same kind of thing. You wouldn't give the same medication 100% of the time for the same symptoms. That's not going to work with all those people. It can't be the same with, or it has to be the same approach with our protocols as well. So if you guys do have last second questions, please throw them in. This is kind of a funny question though that I had to finish us up if no one else has questions. I just wanted to know, like, what is either the weirdest thing, the thing that you're most proud of, the most interesting point. I just wanted something like really unique from the course. We don't have to like give it away, but I just want to know like what's something like funky and cool that they will learn in the course because you're a pretty funky, cool person. So there's probably something like that in there.
Yeah, so well, my very favorite thing that I learned that I was shocked by was diving into the endocannabinoid system and its impact on the immune system, on pain. I did not so I have my PhD in biology. I've been learning anatomy and physiology for decades. And the way the endocannabinoid system works is completely opposite of the way we're taught the nervous system works, how the nervous system communicates with the body. And we know almost nothing about the endocannabinoid system. And people who do study it only talk about cannabis and the endocannabinoid system. But there are so many plants that impact the endocannabinoid system in our body. Every immune cell has endocannabinoid receptors, and our body makes 15 different endocannabinoids. Like, so totally separate from cannabis, right? And so it was just the most fascinating, mind blowing thing. And I talk about the endocannabinoid system in every part of the course. I talk about different plants and their terpenes and how different ones can impact sleep versus inflammation versus pain. And I don't talk about cannabis at all. So it's this different approach that's legal in every state and safe for everybody, doesn't cause dependency in certain people, right? And so that's just my very favorite part of the course.
Okay, great. I love how it is sad, but you're totally accurate at having to specify that because I remember 16-year-old Ev, especially back in the day when the medical stuff was really coming about. I misinterpreted some of that information into thinking that meant you could, go hit the bong every day and all of a sudden my health issues would go away. So no, there's a proper way to use this stuff. It's actually fascinating.
Yes.
And I don't even know a fraction of it, but the part that I do is so cool and very hopeful for people. The amount of things that it could help them with, possibly in certain cases, even being an appropriate substitute with the overview of their doctor, of course, for certain medications. It's like, wow, that's a great thing while they get this other stuff regulated and figured out. So apparently you guys just love looking at us, which we take as a compliment. Thank you. But I don't see any direct questions coming through. So you guys can get the advanced immune course. I mean, it will be available forever, but in terms of this discount, that is only going to be good until the end of the day on 7/18. So that is Friday at 11:59 p.m. PST. If you're not good with time zones, that's just 11:59 at night in California. I always say that to make it easy for you guys. I know we got an international audience, and it looks like you can get 25% off for that, which is great. And if you want to check out more of the course, if you go to the QR code above or you go to the link that we put in the chat, and if you're listening to this on audio, we're going to have this. You guys will only probably have a day and change, but we'll release this tomorrow. On audio, just check the show notes there and we will make sure to get that for you. I'd like them to know about the advanced course.
Just letting people know that if you buy it, you do have lifetime access in case people aren't familiar with our advanced courses. So
Yes.
you get it forever. You don't have to have taken the FDN course to take our advanced courses. So this course is available to anyone and everyone forever once you buy it.
Great. Dr. Lori, always amazing talking to you.